I am Judy, and I am 33 years old. I do not have a big family, so one of the advantages of marrying my husband Kyle is being present at such a large event. The music was blasting, and the air was filled with the laughter and chatter of my husband's family. This was the first time I saw such an event. Unlike me, Kyle was from a very large family. They organized a family reunion bash for themselves, and more than 100 people attended the event. For us, it was a great opportunity to meet distant relatives and enjoy some good food. But destiny had its own ways of testing me. It was supposed to be a great opportunity for all of us to enjoy spending time together when I met the meanest and evilest mother-in-law. The thing about her is that, for the most part of my life, she dedicated her time, energy, and effort not to give birth to Kyle, but to disrespect and belittle me as his future wife. What she did not know, though, is that I soon will not be a future but a mother. Our journey to my motherhood was long, hard, dotted with numerous doctor's appointments and ruined hopes. What made things worse is that Hannah was twisting my misfortune into my face every time she got a chance. She came up to me at the bash and said, "Judy, my dear, you are still not pregnant. I must say that you are way too old, and now it's just sick. My team sister, God, how could my son marry someone who cannot even give him an area?" I was shocked. Official website is so rude and evil. I must say that I felt my cheeks burning because I did not really believe what I just had. Excuse me, what? Oh, you better hear me the first time. Wait, and now. I watched as Hannah left me and run from the scene. I felt humiliated enough, but she did the unthinkable. Since this was an event, she went to the DJ and asked if she can borrow his mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, if you can please give me your attention." At this point, I had a bad feeling about what she was going to do. Marianne, my good friend, and wife of my son Kyle, is here to special event possible outcome experience. We are family, aren't we? Aware that this had bad news written all over, my husband Kyle, who was miles away, began to speed over to the DJ booth. He knew his mom and knew that she was not going to say something positive about me. Unfortunately, he was still too far from it to reach her before it was too late. "All right, peasants, if you can tear yourself away from each other like, oh, I have some more news for you. If you take your eyes off Judy, you will notice that she is not pregnant or that she is not holding any baby, haha. God, I can hardly believe it, but hey, I guess I was right. After all, it is not her fault. I guess that actually means she is infertile after all." "Mom, that is enough," shouted Kyle, although the power at last of him voice was no match for the large microphone and a powerful speaker that his mom was speaking onto, so she continued, "Don't worry, Kyle, this is a lesson you to everybody else and definitely a learning lesson. Judy, I know this is hard to hear, but you have to hear it. You are infertile and therefore you are wasting everyone's time here instead. We are all only growing older and I want my grandchild sooner or later. So I think it would be best if you two did something like get a sergeant or divorces general." "Ha, I can't believe I just said that. Ha, I want to see my grandchild." To my relief, thankfully, I was cut off by Kyle, during which she finally got to me. I, for one, couldn't move at all. It was like I was frozen. It seemed like 100 pairs of eyes were looking at me all at once. And, quite frankly, I just wanted the earth to open up and swallow me whole. I felt humiliated as I felt everyone was looking right at me. Finally, despite Kyle stopping her, its damage was already done. Some people looked at me with a disgusted face. Others looked like ones of sympathy. But, honestly, too many just wore expressions of embarrassment. They were humiliated on my behalf, and as a person who does not like to be pitied, this was the worst thing I could imagine. I felt helpless. I'm usually the type of girl who doesn't care what other people think and says what's on her mind. But how could I do that with all these people looking? The DJ tried to get the party back on track and overturned a flip, but like I said, the damage was done. Some people went back to whatever activity they were pursuing before. I knew the whole family would talk about this. My whole family would text about it for the next week, I was sure. I did what I suppose many people would have done in this situation. I ran. I felt so unwelcome and certainly didn't feel loved as I saw Kyle and Hannah talk, more likely argue, off to the side. I ran right into the house hoping to find the nearest bathroom where I could be alone. Of course, there were less than 5 in the house, so I locked myself in the bathroom first and cried and cried. It felt like I was there for hours, and then I got a tap on the door. And I knew it would be none other than my loving husband, Kyle. I was dumbfounded by his response upon seeing my bloodshot eyes and swollen cheeks. I swear to God, I'm not talking to that woman ever again after today. Kyle, you can't say that. She's your mother. Yeah, and she's horrible at it too, and I'll never be able to show my face in here again. I managed to hold in my emotions and waited until we were far enough away that I couldn't hear the other students at the party laughing at me. If you want, we can go home right now. Just say the word, and we are out of here, Kyle offered. No, that will mean I've lost. Hey, what did you tell her? So he told me how he had scolded her for such insolence and rudeness. I wonder why she said something like that. I don't even know half the people in the party, but I was still crying. I know, love. I've let her abuse you for far too long. I'm so sorry. This is my fault, I said. Hugging me, I continued to cry in his arms again. I love this man. After all those years as a kid who told me I had to be strong and not show my emotions or it would look like I was weak, Kyle was always there to catch my tears for me. I pulled away slightly from him and looked up at the love of my life. His warm brown eyes met mine, and I felt just how much I loved this man. Despite my attempts to smile, I started to cry, but I forced myself to suppress the emotion. Hey, do you remember how we met? Kyle smiled. Exactly, how can I ever forget such a beautiful day? I laughed, and he laughed with me. We were both in the library of our university when there was only one electrical outlet left, so we fought over it. After that, we simply talked for hours. We exchanged phone numbers, and the rest, as they say, is history. I love you so much, Kyle. I love you too, Judy, more than anything in this world. And if you need us to go home, then please let me know. This party is dead anyways after that stupid stunt my mother pulled. Kyle, do you remember when we found out? He nodded, a pained look flashing into his eyes. We were trying so hard, and I thought that maybe it was me who was infertile. But finding out it was you, that was even worse. I could have handled it if it was me, you know. I was prepared. But you're so perfect. I never expected it to be you. I never wanted it to be you. I'm so sorry. I know, babe. It was a tough time for us both, but we got through it together. And we'll get through this too. Kyle, look at me. That's when I saw it, the love my husband had for me, and knew we weren't in this alone. Kurt says you should tell her the truth. What? No way. I should have just been honest with the family about everything. I had no idea my mother harbored this kind of resentment towards us for not having kids yet. And worse yet, she automatically assumed it was your fault. It was stupid to keep any of it secret to begin with. If I would have just told her it was my fault from the beginning, then none of this would have happened. Kyle, don't beat yourself up. Even if you acknowledge there's something wrong with your mother. She would have found some way to humiliate me no matter what you did. You're right. I mean, she invited 100 people. That's just absurd. So, no, I'm not going to do that. Wait here. I'll be back. he said as he let go of me and left the bathroom. I was so humiliated that I chose to remain in the bathroom and heed his call. Before I knew it, I had earned the filthy suit on my back for its final paycheck. Time passed, and I became fiercely convinced that Kyle was doing something stupid to perfection when we rescheduled the family name and exposed him to his family. My convictions went wild as I saw Kyle sneaking in with a stack of papers. Thank God. I was about to bust out of this place and stop you wherever you are. You might try and stop me, but I won't. How are you? What have you done? And when I received the stack of papers and cried out in amazement, what are these? My infertility test results and your hyperfertility test results. I printed them out at the library. My stomach ached in bestial pain. How could you do that without telling me? And now you want me to show them to Hannah. Kyle, I can't do that. I told you I wasn't going to do it. I can't just show her these. Judy, she embarrassed you in front of everyone. She needs to be brought down to earth. She's going to have to eat crow when she realizes that I'm not just queuing up for you. I can't do that, Kyle. I told you that so many feelings would die tonight. I can't do that. I don't care about you. She's the one who'll be embarrassed. I'm not afraid of being infertile. It's Nicolas Cage's fuck, but there's hardly any other day to do it. I think we should look into alternative methods of conception. I looked up at him, feeling completely overwhelmed by his love and selfless nature. How on earth could he be willing to sacrifice him like this? Moreover, it seemed that he was ready not just to take the pill, but properly face this ailment and start doing something about it. For so long, it was a painful or tender subject in a relationship. However, as I was looking into his loving eyes, I was thinking about all the healing and growth he did to get to the point where he can see so clearly and give me so much compassion. But Kyle, it's not just that. It's also that she never respected me. She never even tried to get to know me. And she's just making fun of my inability to have babies. I had it. Kyle put his arm over my shoulders, pulling me closer. I know Judy, and that's exactly why we have to do this. We have to show her that we can't be pushed around, he told me. I looked back up at him, feeling grateful. We went to meet the crowd outside. It was funny how everyone just seemed to go back to having fun. Little did they know that there's more chaos waiting for all of us. I gave Kyle one more, "Are you sure?" look, and he reassured me with an inviting nod as he led me to the very same place where I felt embarrassment only hours ago. Kyle took the mic and stood in the center of the people. "Attention everyone, we have something to say," he shouted, and for the second time that evening, people turned their heads towards the booming voice. My wife was wrongfully attacked, and to make matters worse, it was conducted in a fairly mean way a few hours earlier. Now she'd like to provide her own take on the subject. Kyle presented me with the mic. I felt my breath catch in my throat. I looked over the crowd and locked eyes with one person. That was Hannah, and she was staring at me in complete and utter disgust as she was approaching our booth. Hello everyone, for those privileged enough to know or hear me speak. I'm Kyle's wife and Hannah's daughter-in-law. I'm sorry, but the words I'm about to say have already been said. I started. But before I finished, Hannah began approaching us from a short walk from our booth. Surprisingly, rather than being more scared, I found my confidence and anger were increasing. I got tired of her disgusting comments about me that were stunting me from growing and becoming confident. Kyle was right. I needed to man up and shut her up once and for all. That's it, Hannah said without even approaching our booth. I was surprisingly taken by my own fierce demeanor, she says. This is not the time to interrupt me. You were allowed to say anything you wanted to, and now it's my turn, she said, and I was left surprised and silent. So, thank you. I only wanted to say one statement. I didn't need to say what she said. However, I am an advocate for the truth. Behind your back and share my opinion, whatever it may be, whether it is something very touching and private that I must keep to myself. I will say it then, I said as I faced Hannah. So you think I'm pathetic and cannot birth a baby? Well, here's some news. It's your son. Kyle is the one who can't have children. These are the papers. Kyle can provide them to whoever wants them. He held the documents, and Hannah was furious. A murmur spread through the crowd, undoubtedly followed by a gasp. I glanced at Kyle, making sure he was fine, then found out he was giggling and grinning, amazed at everyone's response. However, my mother-in-law, though, had the funniest look on her face. The hall became silent, and everyone's sight was just on us. Hannah's face went pale as though I had just slapped it out of her. What are you saying? I mean, no, that's impossible. Oh, but that is true, in fact, a high fertility rate, I said. There were more gasps and murmurs on the floor. This was something out of a movie. I don't even know what to say, Kyle. Why didn't you tell me? Well, maybe I just was not ready. It is a sensitive issue, and I know you wouldn't have said that to me. Still, I wouldn't have just revealed the whole thing in front of you. Therefore, it was clear to make this revealed in front of all of you. You humiliated my wife, and I had to set things. Kyle, I'm sorry. No, begged Judy. However, it seemed that Kyle had just asked her to recite the Bible using King James Version. She started very reluctantly. Kyle never stopped chanting the word, and even took the mic from my hand and continued chanting. He just kept on chanting, and slowly but surely the rest of the crowd followed suit, with all of them insisting Hannah apologize for the evil words. Because she was too proud, even the pressure from a whole mob of family members couldn't sway her from her disdain for me. I'll do no such thing. She doesn't deserve it. Even if I was incorrect about the fertility thing, why didn't she just say it? It's her fault for not clearing up the air earlier, and now she wants to embarrass me. People began to boo her like she was a terrible music artist performing a terrible set. Feeling embarrassed on her property, she ran inside the house, attempting to escape the judgment that was being passed. The story doesn't end there, folks. We resumed the festivities while Hannah spent the rest of the event held up in her room. So, several aunts and uncles made attempts at luring her out of her room, but to no avail. She was stuck in her pride, and it was leaving a sour taste in people's mouths. Nonetheless, we enjoyed the rest of the reunion with various family members, both known and extended, approaching Kyle and me, commending us on our bravery. Some people were glad we finally put that woman in her place, and others didn't know the extent of her maliciousness reached this far. We ended the evening being closer. It truly felt like a big old happy family reunion by the end, which I was so grateful for. After the family reunion fiasco, I was exhausted and drained. But the next day, we received a call from one of Kyle's aunts. She said that the family had a meeting and agreed that they wouldn't include Hannah in any future family events until she apologizes. They'd also recommended that we remain distant from her until she can grow up and take accountability. I agreed with the decision wholeheartedly. After all, I didn't want to be subjected to her cruel remarks again. I wasn't surprised by the decision, as I knew how stubborn and unapologetic Hannah could be. But it still stunned me to hear that our family was now officially divided due to Hannah's incessant hatred towards me. Kyle and I discussed the situation, and we both agreed that it was time to move on. We couldn't keep enabling Hannah's toxic behavior by being bystanders in her abuse, and we needed to protect our mental health. We were already going through so much, and especially since we wanted to start a new chapter in our lives and build a family of our own, it was time to say goodbye to the drama and focus on building a happy, healthy life together. So we said our goodbyes to Hannah without any regrets or second thoughts. We sent her an email detailing our feelings, and Kyle left her a long voice note telling her that he would love for her to be part of the new life that we're trying to build, but there was no way he was going to allow toxicity and negative energy to be part of it. Unsurprisingly, she never responded, and to this day, we haven't gotten a response from her. Turns out she prioritizes her pride so much that she's willing to give up her relationship with her potential grandchildren. Good riddance to bad rubbish, as they say. We didn't need that kind of negativity in our lives anyways, and we were better off without her. But deep down, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. You won't be surprised, but she never answered. And today we still do not. It looks like she values her pride so much that she is ready to part with her relationship with future grandchildren. At least with Kyle's. But I still remembered that Hannah remained Kyle's mom. I dreamed that someday I would be able to hug her as an in-law. But it was clear that ain't gonna happen. I don't know how she is now. I'm not interested in her current affairs. The only thing I do know is that I will never forget that day. Moreover, I will never let anyone make me feel like some creature.